Greetings aviators, welcome to the channel. I'm Romeo Tango. Here we have again another question and answer session. I have two questions from two of our regular viewers. The first is from Peter Ramsey. Peter Ramsey says, "Hey Romeo Tango, I was wondering if you could explain how transponder codes are generated and assigned to all the different aircraft. Thanks." Very good question, Peter. And to answer your question, I'm going to have to go back into history a little bit, as well as I'm going to have to explain a few things to some of the viewers who are not familiar with what a transponder or transponder codes are. Now, for those who don't know, in the simplest way I can explain is that a transponder code is a 4-digit code that is assigned by air traffic control, so that when the pilot puts that code in his mode C transponder, the aircraft can be recognized by the radar system. Okay, we'll go into a little bit more into how it works in another video, but for the purposes of the here and now, let's just work with that for the time being. Now, years ago when I started air traffic control in 1999, in Jamaica we had no radar. So we really had no need for transponder codes. However, whenever we had an international departure that would take an aircraft through Cuban airspace by letter of agreement, we were allowed to assign squawk codes, as they're called, transponder codes, to aircraft. And it was just a matter of convenience. We were given a set of codes that it was a block of codes from 6700 all the way up to 6777, and as an aircraft was given a clearance by the approach controller, he or she would assign one of these codes. Now, it was very simple. We had a piece of paper and it had all these numbers on them, and as we assigned a code to an aircraft, we would just cross it off the list. Okay, there were times, of course, when for whatever reason that code wasn't accepted by the Cuban controllers. They would just give us another transponder code to assign the aircraft. Okay, that was basically how it was done. Now, as the years rolled by, I believe it was in 2002 when area control in Jamaica went under radar control. The codes were generated by the computer system inside of the radar system, and what would happen is that inside of the parameters of this computer system, we told the computer what blocks we wanted to assign, and for the most part we use the same 6700 codes. Okay, now for aircraft that was transiting inside of Jamaican airspace, we assigned a 0600 block, so 0600 all the way to 0677. Okay, and that was for instrument flights. Okay, for visual flights, we assigned 5000 or 5000 as a non-discrete code, where any VFR, any visually flying aircraft could enter that into the system, and our system would have it, very generic. Okay, we could manipulate it quite a bit, and thereafter, what we decided to do, we decided to assign a specific transponder code to specific aircraft, specific registration. So whenever the aircraft was started up, the pilot would make sure that that aircraft had that code tuned into the transponder. So at the moment that aircraft got off the ground, whether it was a controlled airfield or not, we would automatically know which aircraft that was. Okay, as it relates to aircraft that didn't originate in Jamaican airspace, these codes we would actually get from an adjoining airspace, and they would probably have a similar system there. So for example, if an aircraft departed Santiago, Chile, they would assign a code there, and all things being equal, it would keep that code all the way up through Peruvian airspace, Colombian airspace, Panamanian airspace, Jamaican airspace, Cuban airspace, and then on into US airspace, say the aircraft is landing in Miami. Okay, so throughout the world right now, it's pretty much automated. If there is a situation, which has happened, it's been known to happen, where the aircraft is assigned a code to us. This aircraft is transferred to us from Panama, and Panama is giving us a transponder code that is already assigned to another aircraft. We can simply say to Panama, hey, look, have the aircraft recycle code such and such. Okay, and that's pretty much how that works. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Peter. If not, just drop me a line, and I'll try my best to fine-tune my answer for you. Okay, now our next question is coming from Kenny again. Kenny contacted me, and he said to me that he was interested to know the different categories of ATC service, that being clearance, delivery, ground, etc., and what is the most pertinent information each require when talking with them. Now, once again, Kenny, very good question. Okay, now there are several layers, and let's start at the aerodrome level. Okay, and of course this order is not in terms of importance, but more in terms of from an aircraft starting its journey to an aircraft arriving at its destination. Okay, so it's not in terms of importance or difficulty or any of that stuff. Okay, so the first contact that an aircraft will probably have with their air traffic control is with clearance delivery. Now, not every aerodrome or every ATC facility will have clearance delivery as a separate frequency or a separate unit or a separate sector. Okay, more often than not, it's co-located with the ground control. Okay, so the ground controller will function also as clearance delivery. Okay, clearance delivery is something that will be at very busy airports. Okay, so the pilot is ready to go. You know, he's starting up his aircraft, whatever, blah blah. So he sits on board and he calls clearance delivery. Clearance delivery is the unit that will assign your clearance. Okay, so at that point, what the controller wants to know is your call sign. Okay, and he or she might be interested in your destination. Okay, so you might find something like 6 Yankee Juliet Romeo Tango, looking for clearance to Miami, for example. Okay, so that's the type of information that the controller might want to look for. So the controller would then look in his system. Say, okay, does he have any information on 6 Yankee Juliet Romeo Tango? If not, he will probably tell the controller to stand by, or probably ask he'll ask a pilot to stand by, or he'll probably seek some more information. Okay, now the next level, that the next unit that the pilot will be in contact with is ground control. Once the clearance has been issued, okay, the ground controller is the unit that will usually give the pilot push and start clearance and then taxi clearance to the runway. So the ground controller needs to know more often than not your gate assignment. Which gate are you at? Which ramp are you at? You know, where are you on the airfield? Because that's going to impact his or her instructions for you to enter taxiway and onto the active runway. Okay, so the next stage, once you have gotten your taxi clearance, you start taxi clearance, the ground controller will then hand you over to the tower controller or the air controller. You know, same thing. Okay, that is where you will be getting your takeoff clearance from. Okay, in most cases. So at that point, the system should be seamless enough that the controller doesn't really need to know where you are and where you're going, because the ground controller should have already given that information to him or her. But just for safety's sake, you want to tell that controller, that tower controller, where you are, what taxiway you are at taxiing, and which runway you are about to hold short to. Now the hold short instruction is very important, and it's required. You must tell the controller, you must read back all hold short instructions. So at that point, the tower controller will then be looking at it and say, okay, are you taxiing to the active runway? If not, he needs to get the ground controller to taxi you to the active runway. Okay, so at that point, once everything is good to go, you'll get your takeoff clearance, and once you're airborne and you're switched to departure, some units use departure controls, some just say approach, whatever. The departure controller will oftentimes they will want to know the altitude you're climbing, and maybe your squawk code, your transponder code. Okay, in an environment where the controller is handling several different airdromes, you might also want to know the airdrome that you've departed from. Okay, basic information. Okay, so from that point onwards, you know, if you're going to be getting that high, at some point you'll be handed over to area control. Okay, and you know, it's just good practice. Whenever you switch to a different unit, you tell your altitude you're passing and your altitude that you've been assigned. So for example, you know, this is 6 Yankee Juliet Romeo Tango, climbing out of 2000 for flight level 350. Okay, this is, you know, good stuff. So the area controller, that's fine by him. 6 Yankee Juliet Romeo Tango, continue climb flight level 350. And then from there on, he or she will hand you over to the next unit and the next unit to the next unit until you begin your descent into your destination airfield, where the area controller will commence your descent. Once you've reached that threshold, the area controller will hand you over to the approach controller. Okay, and at which point, yes, you want to tell the approach controller the altitude you're descending past and the altitude that you've been assigned. Okay, then of course at some point the approach controller will vector you to final for landing, and at some point along that path he will hand you over to the aerodrome controller, at which point you will advise the aerodrome controller of the type of approach you're on, whether it's an ILS approach, VORDM approach, visual approach, and you can also tell him your distance. Okay, thereafter, once you've gotten your landing clearance, you've landed, you've gotten your vacating instructions, you will contact the ground controller once you're clear, and you will advise the ground controller taxiway, the runway you've vacated, the taxiway you're on, and the gate that you've been assigned by your company or your handlers. Okay, then the ground controller will give you taxi instructions to the ramp or to the gate. Now guys, what I have here coming up next is a follow-up to a question that Lorene had asked about. She was interested to know what it was that a pilot was expected to do once they were issued with an immediate takeoff. Now, I had posted a video clip of an aircraft doing a takeoff run, but I've since obtained a video from my good friend Richard Cunningham, and he has provided us with a flight deck view of what an immediate takeoff looks like. So let's jump right to that video now and have a look at exactly what the what the controller expects to see once he or she has assigned an immediate takeoff.
Ready?
Ready.
Flight 67 SRS runway on the thrust.
Thrust sights. 100 miles.
Checks.
there we have it. That's what an immediate takeoff looks like. Now, as you can see, from the moment the aircraft is lined up on the center line to the point where rotate is called and the nose gear gets off the ground, roughly 30 to 35 seconds. Okay, and that's basically what the controller wants to see. Well guys, there you have it. I hope the answers I gave to those questions were clear. If not, drop me a line in the comment section below and I'll be sure to go back over those questions and those answers and try to polish off those rough edges. Or if you have any other questions about the aviation industry, drop me a line in the comment section below and I'll be sure to get to those questions as soon and as clearly as I can. Once again, if you like what's going on, you want to see more videos, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Helps me to help you. That being said, wind calm, clear for takeoff.